Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today's story is called The House Beyond the Fog. The small coastal town of Darnham was a quiet place, half forgotten by the world, where winters dragged on and the sea seemed always to brood. Every year, when the fog rolled in, heavy and wet, the town grew stiller, as though the mist muffled not only sound, but life itself. On those nights, the house on the cliff came alive. It was a grand Victorian once, built by a whaling baron who vanished at sea with his entire crew. Since then, the house had stood abandoned, its windows dark, its timbers groaning under salt and time. But according to the townsfolk, when the fog pressed thickest, faint lights glowed behind its shattered glass panes. Some swore they had seen figures moving inside, shadows that did not match human shapes. Others claimed they had heard whispers drifting across the cliffs, voices calling their names. The children called it the Fog House. Adults pretended to laugh at the stories, yet they never walked that path after dusk. For Elena Ward, 24, graduate student and researcher of folklore, the Fog House was not just a story. It was an opportunity. Her thesis focused on legends of liminal places, and she needed first-hand material. Unlike the others, she wasn't afraid. At least she told herself so. Her grandmother, the woman who had raised her, never spoke of the place directly. Whenever Elena brought it up, she would stiffen, her eyes glazing as though dragged back into some memory. "Don't you ever go near that house," she would whisper, and then change the subject. Elena thought it strange, but also intriguing. Why such fear over a crumbling ruin? The answer, she decided, lay in the Fog House itself. Elena began her inquiry at the Harbor Tavern, where weathered men with rum-thick voices traded stories. She set her notebook on the bar and asked directly, "What do you know about the house on the cliffs?" The men fell silent. One by one, they turned their faces away. At last, an old sailor with a scar across his cheek leaned close. "The house breathes," he muttered. Another man, his hands shaking around his glass, added, "It listens." A third, eyes sunken deep, rasped, "And if it likes you, it keeps you." Elena's pen froze over the page. She pressed for more, but the men only muttered prayers and made the sign of the cross. Elena decided she was wasting her time. She paid for her drink and left. The walk back to her grandmother's house was long, and the sky had grown darker still. The fog clung close now, damp and clinging like a shroud. When she pushed open the door, the house felt colder than it should have. The clock on the mantelpiece chimed twice, a deep, resonant toll. Her grandmother sat in her usual armchair, a shawl wrapped tightly around her shoulders. "Where were you?" the old woman asked. Her voice was sharp. Elena described her day, asking about the house, hiding her frustration. Her grandmother only shook her head. Finally, Elena snapped, "Why are you afraid of the house? What is it to you?" Her grandmother flinched as though struck. She stared at the floor. "You don't want to know," she whispered. "Some things are best forgotten." But Elena did want to know. She couldn't shake the feeling that her grandmother was keeping something important from her, that the Fog House held more than it was letting on. So while her grandmother slept that night, Elena went to the attic to dig through old trunks, searching for clues. In one of them, she found a daguerreotype, tarnished and cracked, but still showing a picture of a handsome young man with kind eyes. On the back, a name, Samuel Ward. Below it, a date. Her grandfather must have died at sea. But why was the photo hidden here? Was there more to the story? To her grandmother, she showed the picture and demanded answers. But the old woman only shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I can't tell you," she whispered. "Not here. Not now." Before Elena could press further, the room grew cold, so frigid it seemed to suck the breath from her lungs. Then a voice, soft, like dry leaves rustling. "Grandmother, it's time to come home." Elena spun around, But the attic was empty. Had her imagination conjured the sound? Before she could dwell on it, her grandmother grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the window. Outside, the fog had pressed closer, tendrils reaching for the house. "It wants me," her grandmother whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "I have to go." Before Elena could respond, her grandmother was gone. She vanished into the fog, her form dissolving into the grayness. The old woman did not resist as the fog enveloped her whole, nor did she scream. She only kept calling out Elena's name. Then silence fell again. Elena raced downstairs and burst through the front door. She plunged into the fog, calling her grandmother's name. But only the wind answered her. Elena searched for hours, stumbling over rocks and roots, her eyes stinging with tears and salt spray. But the fog swallowed her grandmother whole. Soon the voices started up again. Elena pressed on, driven by a sudden, desperate hope. Perhaps she could save her grandmother if she reached the house in time. She broke into a run, the sound of children's laughter ringing in her ears. The pace quickened, and soon she was gasping for breath. Elena stumbled onto the path before the house and collapsed, shivering and spent. The door swung open as though welcoming her, and she crawled through the gap, collapsing on the floor inside. When she looked up, she saw the rocking horse in the child's bedroom. It swayed gently, as though pushed by an unseen hand. Beside it, the porcelain doll with the wide, sharp eyes sat straight up, smiling at her. Elena screamed and scrambled back, but the room was empty. The fog pressed against the windows, swirling inside the room. The lullaby had begun, and Elena knew that whatever had taken her grandmother had come for her now too. The end.